Some dogs come into our lives and change the way we hunt. Others change who we are. This is the story of a young woman, her dog, and the journey that turned her into a true handler.
I called my mom and stepdad and I was like, I think my dog's gonna die. I'm Marissa. I'm from Fremont, Michigan.
All right.
I grew up around Fremont until I was about 20, joined the Army in 2013 and was stationed in Joint Base Lewis McChord. I served 7 years as an Apache helicopter mechanic. I got out and came back to Michigan, getting my bachelor's degree at Grand Valley State University. And that's a little bit about me. I got started with bird dogs because my dad had bird dogs growing up. He first had Springer Spaniels, and then he got some German Shorthair Pointers. After we moved into our new house that he built, he got a pheasant pen, and we hatched out pheasants and did releases and also used them for training as kids. And then I remember, him training his dogs and just going out and him holding the dog steady, and we were the bird flushers. That was how I originally got into bird dogs. And then when I was 16, we got into drahthaars. My stepdad raised drahthaars, Scott Goldman. And I don't think I'll go back. And if I do, it'll be something similar as a versatile dog. But that's where I really got into bird hunting, is having my stepdad's dogs around, Hilly and Chief. What drew me to the Drahthaar breed was Chief, my stepdad's dog. He was just a really biddable dog, loved to be around you, just a nice bird dog to work with and hunt behind. They just seem like they want to be around you more. And I just liked the breed, just the way they are. The first moment I met Lux is she was the tiniest one out of the litter, and she stood her ground. She was probably the asshole of the litter, we'll call it. And she was fierce. She got picked on by the other puppies a little bit, just being smaller. I think the challenging part for me was force fetch or condition retrieve. That was probably my toughest part. I've never really have done that. I've taken pointers from you and from Scott on the condition retrieve, and getting the dog, everything's hunky-dory, when you're working them on the bench, but then you gotta force them to basically not want them to, they don't want to retrieve it, so you have to put them in a position where you're going to put pressure on them and get them to retrieve whatever you're asking them to retrieve. And that was just overcoming that, I think, was my biggest challenge as a new dog owner / trainer, going through the VJP, the HCP, and the breed show. You ready?
So you got through all the standards for breeding.
The VJP was required, as well as the HCP. It was part of the purchase agreement we'll go with. And then helped me make my choice on if I wanted to breed her after the breed show. But we were able to accomplish everything from VJP to HCP and the breed show as well. They have a standard. They want these dogs to succeed in that standard. And if they don't make it, they should not be continue to be bred within that line.
So did your dog make those standards?
She did.
And did you choose to breed her?
No, I did not.
Why did you not?
There was a couple things I did not like about her. She's okay with family dogs. She's not okay with outside dogs coming in. She's not sure of them, and if they're in her face, she doesn't like that. But I can go out to Kansas and hunt with a random dog out in the field, no issues. But when you get back to the truck and the dog's like, oh, another dog, Lux is not very happy about that. I also think she's just not sure of the dog and how they're going to react, and I think that's just a little instability in her, just not knowing what the other dog's doing. She's good with 9 to older kids, years of age, but when a kid is very hyper and screamy, you can see her unsureness come out. And that was my decision behind it. She's a phenomenal bird dog. Probably will be my best bird dog I'll ever own. I don't know.
I hope not. I hope it's not the best bird dog. I'm happy if it is, but I hope it's not.
From a bird dog standard, every dog has their problems. We'll put it that way. They have their certain funkiness about them. They got their ticks. They could be annoying in the house and really a really good bird dog, or they could be a really crappy bird dog and great in the house, great house manners, great around kids, great around other people. Yeah, you have to find a balance. And sometimes there's, hopefully it's not a sacrifice, but there's sacrifices with coming, like what's your priority in a bird dog? My priorities in a bird dog is trackability. Can they track? I think to achieve a great grouse dog, you have to have a dog that's willing to track 100, 200, 300 yards on a bird and stick with it, not put enough pressure on the bird. They can grow into that. It takes a couple of years for a dog to mount up to that. But I think like a dog to be able to track is one of my bigger requirements in a bird dog. I'd say my other requirement in a bird dog is just being able to be around other people's dogs, and you can never trust a dog around a child. You shouldn't. I mean, you never know what happens. You usually have to keep an eye on them, but just being able to know that the dog's stable enough and trustworthy enough to have kids around and being able to tolerate them, so to speak. That was I think that's a good requirement, especially with people with families and things like that. And being able to take your dog other places. She's great. I could take her into the store. I can take her all over the place, but I can take her to the vet, no issues. It's just, you know, being around other people, another loose dog coming by. Can I trust that, right? So that's a requirement for me. And I also think one of my requirements is how far they work away from you. So patterning, you can teach patterning, but you can't teach, like,
She said there was a bird here
if a
somewhere.
dog's a bootlicker, you can always reel them in, but you can't push them out. Like, it's really hard to push a dog out that wants to be a close working dog, which isn't my cup of tea. I want a medium ranged dog, and usually the breeder will be able to tell you, hey, this is a big range working dog, or this is a medium range, you know, pairing, or these dogs work really close. So I'd like to see that. I would say after my first year of owning Lux, going through that HCP, the VJP, and then going through the HCP is where my dog handling started to grow more. Also, the longer you're with a dog, right, you get to see how that dog is working, if they're getting birdie, if they're on something they shouldn't be. A lot of tells with that, so you kind of pick those things up as you become a better dog handler. You're learning dog's body language, how to handle a dog, when to put pressure on a dog, when to pull back from putting pressure on them, and just overall setting them up for success, in putting them in situations that you want them to be successful in. So that would be for me in that HCP training period of doing the duck search, the rabbit drags, working on that stuff, and then working on pointing and retrieving, condition retrieve. Go about this. Luckily, I was around people that have had multiple experiences training dogs for VJPs, HCPs, and the breed show to show me like what the expectations are, how everything's going to go through the test, what they're looking for point scoring on the test, and things that they will fail a dog for. So,
Who are those people?
Scott Goldman, Scott Brozier, Kathleen Gannon, her husband Max. It was a community of people that are part of the Great Lakes VDDGNA. See, it's been so many years. Basically, it's the first 2.5 years of Lux's life, and then I only have one dog to test, so then I'm out of the game for that stuff. I'm out.
So
Moving
what
on.
happened after that? You went bird hunting.
That's right.
You haven't quit.
The early training point for me was her figuring out that there's birds out there. So an example of that would be UP. We went up there mid-September for our first trip up there, and she started coming into woodcock. And the woodcock run up there. I mean, woodcock run about anywhere, but she started to put it all together that when she points, she finds the bird flushes, you shoot, continue on, like it's a continuous cycle, and she's back to hunting, she's back to searching. And I think that really clicked for her, that you just continue finding birds or you continue hunting, and it all clicked together within that first real hunt up in the UP. I did shoot a woodcock over, I think, opening day, her first season. She was 9 months old, and she busted a couple before that, and the one she did point, I shot for her, but I wasn't shooting every bird for her at that point. She had to point, hold the bird until it flushed, and then I shot. But I think that first hunting trip was what really clicked for her, and she was about 10 months old. The hunt I will never forget with Lux is actually when I moved out to Wisconsin for 2 years. I got to shoot the first 3 species for the upland slam for Wisconsin. It was the ruffed grouse, the pheasant, and the woodcock. I didn't know there was wild pheasant out there until I first started doing some scouting out there, and I was like, holy crap, there's a pheasant. She went out there and she pointed like 4 or 5 pheasants, and I ended up shooting a double pheasant rooster over her on a track, point track sequence. And then I was like, well, we're halfway there, and there's actually grouse along the edge of the CRP as well, and she ended up pointing some grouse there, and I was able to shoot a couple of grouse over and a woodcock to achieve that upland slam, which was super awesome. But I would say a close second is she was pointing on the edge of, they call them flowages out there, and she's pointing on the edge. My dad's hunting with me. My dad's on one side of her, I'm on the other side, and we flush this bird, and this bird starts flying across this flowage. And my third shot, like, I could see I hit this thing, and it sails all the way across this flowage. And she starts swimming out there to go retrieve it. I call her back. I mean, it's the end of October, it's cold. It's probably 300 yards on the other side of this flowage. And so we call her back and we bring her back, and there was a way to walk on the other side, so we walked her over and she found that bird. And
Incredible.
that was super fun. Like, not very many times you can shoot a grouse over a lake or a body of water like that and get a water retriever. I've hunted with a couple people in Wisconsin over Lux, and they always ask to go out because they're like, I've never hunted with a good grouse dog before, and Lux just gives you those shooting opportunities that some dogs don't give you. She'll work for the other person that she's with, and those are the compliments that I get from hunting with other people, that she just gives you those shot opportunities, and she's a really nice working dog and feels great. It wasn't nothing to do with me, it's all the breeder's glory with that one.
If that ain't fluff, I don't know what is.
A perfect day for the field is not getting completely skunked, so at least finding some birds. And then also the dog just working really well with you, pointing, holding those points, and getting those opportunities to shoot birds. I don't need to come back with a full pack full of birds. Maybe my first or second year with her, that was exciting stuff, coming back with a limit of birds. But Now I think it's just the dog doing a great job working the woods, listening, pointing, holding birds, doing some great tracks and retrieves. We were in Idaho. We were about a week into being in Idaho. I was hunting with my dad and sister out there. This is our second day at a new spot we moved to after hunting in the Blackfoot Hills mountain range. We moved down south and we hunted her in the morning. We were in search of chukars, so we were hunting a little higher altitude. Not finding any birds up there, but we were finding sharp tails. She tracked a nice covey of sharp tails and huns that morning. We decided to take a break around noon, cook some lunch, check in, working along the bank for birds, and then she came back to me probably 20 minutes into the hunt, and something wasn't right. She sat down, she was trying to puke. She just looked miserably uncomfortable. I didn't know exactly what was going on, and I touched her sides of her stomach, and it was like rock hard, like there was gases expanded, not sure what. Fortunately, I've watched enough vet shows and things like that you can see these symptoms.
And Is that the moment you knew?
That's the moment I knew. I was like, ooh, she might have GDV. I mean, that was really the only thing I could come up with. I had service in that spot, actually, cell phone signal. So I called an emergency vet nearby, explained the symptoms. This was on a Sunday, maybe a Saturday, Sunday. No. So emergency vet is open now. Told her symptoms. She goes, yep, that's serious. She goes, well, how fast can you get here? It said like an hour and something. And I was like, that's a long ways. And we looked, and there was a vet within 45 minutes of where we were at. So my sister and dad took my gun, took my stuff, started hauling back to the truck, and I wasn't gonna make it way back that way with the dog. I ended up carrying her out onto this 2-track, probably like 300 yards from where we were, and I hauled 90 miles an hour, speed limit's 85 there, 90 to the vet, 45 minutes. A lot of things were going on in my mind. I didn't think my dog was going to make it. I mean, usually when a dog has GDV, it could be 2 hours and the dog's dead. So pretty emotional driving to the vet that day. And I called them, said, hey, I got a dog with GDV coming in. And they're like, yep, we'll be ready for you. Dropped her off. And they came back out and they're like, yep, you got dog's has GDV. Any heart problems? No. I called my mom and stepdad, and I was like, I think my dog's gonna die, you know? So it's just super emotional, I guess you could say, with her. I've had her for 6 years since I've gotten out of the military, and she's been my buddy, right? I took her to the Porcupine Mountains backpacking, done a lot of stuff with this dog. So pretty emotional. I actually called you, and I was like, hey, is there anything that you can do in the meantime to try and save a dog? They call it, what is it called? They do it to cows when cows have twisted stomachs. Yes, trocar. And I was thinking maybe you could trocar. I had big enough needles with me in my emergency, but I don't know the anatomy of a dog to release gas. When I got her to the vet, they actually trocar'd her. Yep. So they put one inside. It's actually in a different spot than you think it would be versus a cow. So that was good to know. But they trocar'd her, and they said, it's not that bad. You got her here in time. We're gonna do the surgery. She'll be in recovery. And I said, what's her chances of recovery? Will she have a normal life? Those are the things, you know, you have to ask, especially with it being a hunting dog. And so I had to make those decisions. They said, nope, she'll have a normal way of life. This will never happen to her again. It will be stitched to her side. So let's do it. $5,000 later in 24 hours. Not bad at all for a price. And she lived. They let me see her the next day. Hung out with her for a couple hours, but she made a full recovery. That happened, I want to say like the 26th of October. And I was hunting her in Kansas on Thanksgiving. So about 4 or 5 weeks of recovery, just healing. I feel really fortunate that I was able to take care of her. I highly suggest pet insurance if you can. It's up to 7 years old having pet insurance because it will get you out of a pinch. This experience has given me the mental capability of being able to handle it, situation like that, and what to expect, I guess you could say. And I think this just has given me a learning experience, right? You know, you go through all these training conditioning standards, you prepare for XYZ to happen, like your dog running into barbed wire or getting bit by a snake or spraining an ankle or something like that and go for whole. I was prepared for all of those. I wasn't prepared for what happened in the field. We take a lot of precautions, you know, with that stuff, not feeding before hunting, making sure, you know, your dogs exercise, they're plenty hydrated, that sort of thing. The vets that I talked to, they said it's quite common out in the West for GDV. You know, they get 2-3 dogs a week coming in for GDV at the vet in Idaho that I went, or Utah that I went to, emergency. Some of them are older dogs, some of them are out of shape. It could be elevation, lots of water intake, some of it's higher propensity for GDV, which is like deep-chested dogs. A lot of bird dogs are deep-chested dogs. So there's a lot of factors that can cause GDV, but the ones that that are in your control, you know, those are the things that you should focus on to prevent something like that from happening. My bond with Lux, if she knows I'm going hunting, she's making sure I'm not forgetting her. And the bond I have with her is getting out of the military, like that was a huge transition for me. And she's kind of like a emotional support animal. She went everywhere with me for work. When I worked for you, you know, she came to the kennel, a lot of car rides. She didn't spend a whole lot of time by herself. She was usually with me in the car, in a crate, at the kennel, doing something. So I became really attached to the dog being with me. And even now, like if I have to go away for work for a couple days, it's really depressing not being with my dog. Now that I'm older, I like the bed to myself. So she sleeps in her little cozy comforter dog bed that she has. It's like a snoozer pet's bed that she loves to bury herself in, which is great. It's still kind of depressing that she likes that bed now instead of snuggling up, but you know, through the training process and things like that, take your time. Don't be in a hurry to speed it all up. I was in a rush to get my dog trained, done with the HDP, VJP, so that we could just go bird hunting, and really didn't enjoy those small moments of that type of training and bonding that I should have. So to a younger self, take that time to really get those things cleaned up as a trainer so that you're not dealing with it on the back end. But that's about it. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it.
That's all I got for you.
All right. I'm cold.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for watching Marissa and Lux's story. If you love these stories of real hunting dog handlers, please subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and consider supporting the channel through membership or on our live feed super thanks. Hunt hard, always trust your dog, and go make some great memories.